Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meaningful Use 2014 Preparation Checklist. My name is Kevin Sloan. I'm a Management Plus EHR specialist. We'll try to take at least 15 to 20 minutes to review this information so that you're fully prepared and knowledgeable about some of the changes that are associated with the new Meaningful Use 2014. Full Management Plus upgrade will be required if you have not had an upgrade within the last month. This is something that you can request to our Management Plus support department, and they'll be happy to schedule a time and date for that upgrade. You'll also want to verify with support that Direct Send has been configured by them and that your office staff has been trained on its usage. You'll also want to verify that the CQM provider has been configured by support and you have been trained on its usage. Complete setup and training with support for Patient Portal. You'll want to complete setup and training with support for Dr. First ePrescribe. Management Plus is no longer associated with Relay Health, so you'll want to get connected with Dr. First ePrescribed. Verify that support has installed the code tables for RxNorm, SNOMED, and Loink on the server. These add about 4 gigs of data, and these options on the list cannot be modified, added, or deleted in any fashion. For your EHR specialist, a copy of all currently used EHR forms and template arrangements are needed. You'll want any if you want any development on other forms such as copies of meaningful use controls or scripting to link specific items, it will be done at the standard development rate of $200 an hour. Your EHR specialist will also add 5 clinical decision support rules to your forms in the appropriate places. For your homework, you will want to complete the research and self-education on the specifics of Meaningful Use 2014 on the CMS website. CMS often does not update their information, so please be aware that the information you get may be outdated. They just don't take it off their website. So if you just do a normal search, just be careful with that information that it is up to date. CMS changes often the information that's available, so check on that often to make sure you have all pertinent information. You'll want to make your office and staff aware that all medications administered in the office will need to be documented in the new medications grid. You'll want to make your office and staff aware that the Meaningful Use report has changed. And you will want to make your office and staff aware that the grids for past family social history, allergies, medications, ePrescribe, lab, and problem list will be changing. You want to make your office and staff aware that the options for the smoking status list will be changing. These options cannot be changed or modified. You'll need to choose from that approved list. You'll want to choose 1 to 3 staff members in your office that will manage the communication to and from the patient portal. Your assigned EHR specialist will install a new Meaningful Use form. This is at no cost. This form will function perfectly as it stands. Let you take a look at that. If you need copies of any of these controls or code written for any of these that are on the other forms, that certainly can be done upon written request. You can send that to your assigned EHR specialist and they'll be happy to set that up for you. That work will be done at the standard development rate of $200 an hour. Some of these are linked by default by the program, so it makes that job just a little bit easier for you. The new meaningful use report, it has changed a little bit. Those that have had attestation experience in the past are quite familiar with this. A lot of these measures have specific percentages or specific age ranges. Some have certain parts, Part A and Part B. Please familiarize yourself with this. Do multiple tests so that you are familiar with how it captures the data. This has been approved, and it is a certified meaningful use report, and the numbers are all accurate. Your office will be contacted by an EHR specialist. This is my particular list here, so if you're one of the folks in this group here that are part of these offices, if you haven't already, you will be receiving an email from myself to discuss your options and to discuss getting this new meaningful use form and anything else that your office needs. Let's switch gears just a little bit. I'm going to review this meaningful use 2014 document. This will be provided to you upon request. It has a lot of good information in here. It's a great starting point to become educated on some of the new information and to know a little bit more about how things work within the whole data capturing process, where the data comes from. It's 31 pages long, so we'll try to cruise through this pretty quick. If you see a $sign, there is a cost associated with that. So we won't read everything in line by line, but we're going to kind of hit the highlights, and you can review this at your leisure once you get the document in your hand. So the top one here is the Dr. First ePrescribe. So as we mentioned before, you will definitely want to switch over to that. There's a cost, time frame associated with that. Same as with the patient portal. There's a cost and a time frame associated with that. It's kind of a little snapshot there of what your patient portal screen might look like. Your secure email, you'll want to have support set that up for you as well. And with that CQM solutions, as we mentioned earlier, there's a little cost and time frame associated with all of those. This is a little snapshot of what the CQM solutions dialog screen would look like. I'm going to read this part for you. Kind of want this to sink in there pretty good. The CQM requirements. Below are the measures certified by Management Plus to assist you in your meaningful use attestation. Each physician must report on at least 9 measures. Each physician must include at least 6 core measures, and the core measures are marked by an asterisk right here. Each physician selected measures must include at least 3 domains. And the 3 domains are the little sections here for clinical progress and effectiveness, population public health, patient safety, and care coordination. Where do the meaningful use numbers come from? This is a great section of this document. It gives you all the details about where these numbers are derived and how they're captured, and where the numerator is and where the denominator is. So we'll kind of cruise through this. Generate and transmit prescriptions for ePrescribe. This essentially is your data entry screen for your ePrescribe. So you can see the numerator here and the denominator. Okay. Another section on the ePrescribe, excluding controlled substance and how you would document that information. Again, numerator and denominator. Demographics, all or none, as everybody knows on this. Language, gender, race, ethnicity, and date of birth, numerator and denominator. Smoking status, 13 years and older. If you see never smoker as part of the list, that is not a typo. That is an accurate and correct option. There's probably about 9 or 10 options in this list. It will set this code here. So again, do not add to this list. Do not modify the options in here. the ability to view online, download and transmit health information. It's associated with the patient portal. So again, numerator and denominator. This is where it's published, just by clicking of this on the health record in the upper left corner of the banner. That's part A, as shown here. Part B is provide patients the ability to view online, download and transmit their health information. This is what the patient would see when they access the patient portal on their account. Provide clinical summaries for patients, numerator and denominator. Okay, this is where it's documented on the meaningful use form. Incorporate clinical lab test results into certified EHR technology. The new lab grid, numerator and denominator. Use clinically relevant information to identify patients who should receive reminders. Nice way to set this automatically when running reports. This is found on the patient's demographics. This date will need to be a date that is within the reporting period. It can be set manually as well. Use certified EHR technology to identify patient-specific education resources. Multiple ways of doing this. You have your standard patient education button, and on the banner you have the info button, LDM. By choosing any of those, it will set this automatically on the meaningful use form. The examining physician who receives a patient from another setting of care or provider of care or believes an encounter is relevant should perform medication reconciliation. So again, numerator, denominator, and where it's documented on the meaningful use form. Another one with two parts, examining physician who transitions a patient to another setting of care. So part A, the numerator and denominator. Part B, numerator and denominator here. Same section, just a little bit more. Use secure electronic messaging to communicate with patients on relevant health information. Numerator and denominator. Again, patient portal. Secure messaging. Send a message to the office. Record electronic notes and patient records. This is found on the meaningful use form. Imaging results consisting of the image itself and any explanation or other accompanying information are accessible through the certified electronic health record technology. So if you have a visit with an imaging result and the attachments with the interpretation entered, it's the numerator, and the denominator, this is the attachment section. Record patient family health history as structured data. Pretty straightforward here. This is a direct entry grid. The other grids, you'll need to right click and choose a menu option. This you can click right into the grid and directly enter the information. Use computerized provider order entry for medication, lab, and radiology. So this is essentially your e-prescribe grid, otherwise known as the medication grid. This will hold all of your meds, whether topical, systemic, or e-prescribed. It all goes into one grid now. Use computerized provider order entry for medication, lab, and radiology order. So this is your lab grid here. Okay. Use computerized provider order entry for meds, labs, and radiology entered by any licensed healthcare provider. If you do radiology in your practice, be sure to have your images stored as imaging order type. This is an attachment type. If you're familiar with the attachments and the setting of attachment types, which are essentially filters, you'll want an attachment type called imaging order, and you will want to assign your radiology images with that type. Record and chart changes in vital signs, height, weight, and blood pressure. It's pretty important that you do this now. It's at the very bottom of the meaningful use form. Another section associated with vital signs, blood pressure out of scope, numerator and denominator. Okay, height and weight out of scope. Same sections, same controls. Clinical decision support to improve performance and high priority health conditions. This is found in the system administration section, meaningful use tab. These are essentially dates. This is essentially a reminder for you so that when you perform each one of these and set these up, you will put a date in here. On the meaningful use report, if you have a date, it'll essentially be displayed as true. If there's no date in there, or the date is out of the reporting period selected, it'll display as false. The remainder of the document essentially goes through each one of these, gives you a little bit of information about each one. So they'll look almost identical. This is the end of this document and the end of our discussion. I appreciate the time that you have taken to participate in this. Again, if you have not been contacted by an EHR specialist, you will be in the very near future. If you have questions about this, feel free to send those questions to that EHR specialist or to just give them a call. You could probably schedule a meeting with them to discuss any questions that you have, especially after the new meeting use form has been installed, and you will want to go over this in detail with your EHR specialist. Thank you for your time. If you're on my list, as shown before, and if you haven't already received a call, you will be getting an email from me to get this ball rolling. Good luck with everything that you do with Meaningful Use 2014. We appreciate all of our clients. Thank you.